In a small town where nothing special ever happened, there stood a small house. It wasn't the kind of house people talked about. It wasn't new enough to feel exciting, and it wasn't old enough to feel historic. It simply existed, quietly, as if it had no desire to be noticed. Day after day, it remained exactly where it was, doing nothing more than holding space. The walls of the house were painted a light, ordinary color, not white enough to feel fresh, not yellow enough to feel warm, just a calm shade that blended into the background. It didn't try to impress anyone. It didn't try to stand out. It was the kind of color you stopped noticing after a while. The windows were closed but clean. They reflected the evening light softly, without sparkle or drama. No shadows danced across them, no movement passed by. The curtains inside hung straight down, perfectly still, as if the air itself had decided to rest. Outside, the street was empty. No cars passed by, no voices echoed in the distance, no footsteps disturbed the quiet. The road looked tired, like it had carried enough weight for one day and was now allowed to sleep. The air felt settled, calm, finished. Inside the house, a man sat in a chair. The chair was comfortable, but not special. It didn't creak, it didn't shift, it didn't complain. It simply supported him, the way it always did. The man sat without adjusting himself, without checking the time, without reaching for anything. He breathed slowly, in and out. He wasn't thinking about work, he wasn't replaying memories, he wasn't planning tomorrow. His mind wasn't busy, and it wasn't empty either. It was simply still, like a lake without wind. On the table beside him sat a cup. The cup was half full of warm water. Not hot, not cold, just warm enough to exist without being noticed. The surface of the water was perfectly calm. No ripples, no movement. It waited, but not for anything. The clock on the wall made a soft sound. Tick, tick, tick. Each second passed without urgency. Time wasn't chasing anything. It wasn't being chased either. The sound filled the room gently, like a reminder that time was still there, even when nothing else happened. The man listened to the clock for a while. Then, without realizing it, he stopped listening. The ticking continued anyway. It didn't need attention to exist. In the kitchen, everything was clean. The plates were stacked neatly, the sink was empty, there were no crumbs on the counter, no dishes waiting, nothing calling for action. Nothing needed to be done. The refrigerator hummed softly, a steady and uninteresting sound. It had been making that sound all day. It would make the same sound all night. It didn't change, it didn't pause, it simply continued. The kitchen light was dim, gentle. It didn't try to wake anyone. It didn't strain the eyes. It existed just enough to be useful and no more than that. The hallway connecting the rooms was quiet. The floor didn't creak beneath unseen pressure. The walls didn't echo footsteps. Sound entered the hallway and disappeared almost immediately, like it had nowhere to go. At the end of the hallway was the bedroom. The bed was neatly made. The blanket lay smooth and untouched. The pillow rested exactly where it was meant to be, waiting patiently, without expectation. After some time, how much time didn't matter, the man stood up, slowly, without effort, without hesitation. His body moved the way it always did, familiar and calm. He walked down the hallway. Each step was soft. Each step landed quietly, as if the floor and his feet had agreed not to disturb the silence. The air around him felt safe, still, and settled. Nothing moved unless it needed to. In the bedroom, the lamp was already on, set low, just enough light to see the room, not enough to keep anyone awake. Shadows rested gently against the walls. The man sat on the edge of the bed. He removed his shoes slowly and placed them neatly beside the wall, not because he had to, not because it was a habit, just because it felt right. He didn't rush. He lay down on the bed. The mattress supported him evenly, like it had done countless times before. The blanket rested over him lightly, like a thin cloud settling into place. His breathing slowed. In and out. Outside, night deepened fully. The sky was dark but calm. No storms formed, no wind stirred. The air stayed still. A tree nearby stood quietly. Its leaves did not move, not a single branch shifted. It seemed content to remain exactly as it was. From the other room, the clock continued its quiet ticking. The sound was softer now, more distant. Tick, tick, tick. The sound faded into the background, blending with the hum of the house itself. The man closed his eyes. His thoughts grew fewer, then slower, then softer. They drifted by without demanding attention, like clouds passing through a quiet sky. There was nothing to solve, nothing to remember, nothing to worry about. Only breathing. In and out. The house rested. The street rested. The town rested. Time passed gently. Minutes moved without being noticed. The quiet stayed quiet. And sleep came slowly and naturally.